So Xavier Worthy may not have a ton of practices under his belt so far, but one thing's for sure. When he's out there, he's going to do his best to come down with the football at all costs. And that's something he's done multiple times already, including today. There's also a couple new injuries to talk about, including Chris Jones. The defense has been making plays. Louis Rees-Zammit is working through some growing pains and more. So let's talk about today's camp practice. But first, how about those? All right, day 7 of training camp, day 3 in pads has come and gone, and there's plenty to talk about as these guys are out there working and competing for a job. Right guard Trey Smith spoke on the competition at camp being high. It's hot out there. Guys are flying around and hitting each other, and football is a violent sport. So yeah, it's all love and respect, but tempers can flare as grown men are out there competing for a job. And there are certainly some guys doing all they can to make it, making some splash plays all along the way. More on them in a bit though, because I first want to touch on some injury updates and surprising absences from today's practice. The 3 players that were missing from today's practice were wide receiver Hollywood Brown, running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and defensive end BJ Thompson. Thompson is still working through that health scare that he had back in June, but Hollywood Brown and Clyde Edwards-Helaire missing was definitely not expected, with Andy Reid saying they are both out sick. Hopefully Hollywood, or Clyde for that matter, do not have strep throat like Worthy did. That is a violent illness as an adult, but Big Red didn't specify what exactly is going on with either of them. CEH was sick at the beginning of camp and going through a ramp-up period as it was, so with him out, that means Deneric Prince is continuing to get even more reps. I spoke about Prince in yesterday's video, but even with CEH there at practice, Prince had been taking the running back snaps immediately after Pacheco 4 days in a row, with today presumably being 5 in a row with Clyde out sick. Then there were some new players out there without a helmet today, meaning they didn't practice, with those being cornerbacks Nazeeh Johnson, hamstring, and Jalen Watson, shoulder, defensive tackles Chris Jones, groin, and Derek Nnadi, triceps, defensive end Charles Omenihu, knee, wide receiver Justin Watson, foot, safety Justin Reed, quad, and left guard Joe Thuney, pec. Now, Nnadi and Thuney did get some work in off to the side, rehabbing and getting stronger. But let's take a look or talk about these new additions to the injury report, Nazeeh Johnson and Chris Jones. Nazeeh actually pulled up limping during 1v1s yesterday, went to see the trainers, kind of waited out on the sideline like he wanted to go back in there, then ended up leaving practice, walking up to the locker room. He's been going through growing pains on that repaired ACL, but it turns out he strained his hamstring on the same leg. So not completely knee related, but at the same time, it is kind of knee related given the fact it's the same leg. Nazeeh was out there watching and seemed in decent spirits today. So hopefully it's just a minor tweak and he's back out there sooner rather than later, as he's one of the 3 fighting for that cornerback 2 spot. And he said Nazeeh should be okay. It's more of a small tweak of his hamstring. Quote, I think he's going to be fine. His leg is strong and his knee's solid, so he should be fine. Thankfully, it seems more of a minor issue after all with NJ, and hopefully with Chris Jones as well, because Andy said the CEO of Ballsack Nation is dealing with a strained groin or a sore groin, some sort of groin issue. Andy didn't seem overly concerned about Chris Jones, at least for now, so we shall see how long the groin issue lingers for Jones. Hopefully not very long at all. And with Nazeeh not practicing, cornerback Kelvin Joseph, like yesterday, was once again the next guy up, even getting some snaps in front of Joshua Williams at times. In fact, Joshua Williams was working a lot with the 2s today, giving up a jump ball touchdown to Justin Ross. So I'm not sure what to make of that, but the cornerback room is in an interesting place right now. Again, 3 people mainly fighting for that cornerback 2 spot. Jalen Watson and Nazeeh Johnson, 2 of the 3 right now are nursing injuries, and Josh Williams kind of took a step back today, working in with the 2s. It could be more of just seeing what Kelvin Joseph has in the tank than anything else, so I'm not going to read too much into it until I see this continue multiple days in a row with Joshua Williams. Kelvin Joseph certainly seems like he's making the most of his opportunities, though. He recorded back-to-back PBUs today in 7-on-7, so you love to hear that. Then with Chris Jones out, it was Turk Wharton working in instead of him out there, with the first team D-line remaining the same 3 days in a row since the pads have come on. Mike Dana and George Karlaftis have been on the edge, Mike Pennell at nose tackle, and then Chris Jones has been the other guy, typically inside, though again, today it was Turk Wharton. Defensive end FAU got some work in on special teams packages during Friday's practice with the ones, but it looks like he's not working into the base defense with the starters as of yet. He's been working with the second team defense a lot, though, going up against Wanye Morris. And yes, with Wanye working with the 2s, that means for the 3rd day in a row, the rookie Kingsley Suamataia has been the left tackle with the projected starters, and Mike Caliendo, I believe, was back once again at left guard, filling in for Joe Thuney. Anyway, Kingsley could also be seen here in a couple 1v1 reps against FAU, who's noticeably quicker off the line and had a nice move inside on this rep as well. Another defensive lineman, if we're moving back to the defensive side of the ball to keep eyes on, could be a dark horse candidate to crack the 53, and that is Fabian Lovett. He's working with the second-team defense and blew by CJ Hansen on one rep today, almost untouched on an inside move. And with the defensive tackle room looking a bit thin at the moment, Lovett should get more opportunities out there, and I wouldn't even be surprised if the Chiefs added another defensive tackle to the roster sometime soon. And before we get into some explosive plays on offense and a wide receiver doing all he can to make his case for a roster spot, let's talk a little more defense here because there were some definite standouts from today. Bryan Cook made some nice plays, even stripping the ball out of Pacheco's hands during a decent catch and run. Then Mahomes tried to target Skyy running across the end zone, but B. Cook was there again, tracking it and knocking the ball away at the catch point. And to be clear, I would love to see Skyy succeed, but reports of him being close to catch a pass yet not quite able to haul it in seems to be a continued trend, which is disappointing for a player heading into their third year with the same team. For what it's worth, though, Nate Taylor did say Skyy had the best rep of camp, his best rep of camp, winning a contested catch over Trent McDuffie for a touchdown. So it's not all bad for Skyy. He's just got to keep up the consistency more times than not. Then safety Jaden Hicks reportedly got shook out of his soul by Travis Kelce on an outbreaking whip route, but Kelce does this to veteran defensive backs on the regular. So going up against Kelce, that's only going to help Jaden Hicks acclimate even quicker to the NFL. He also will face few that are more nuanced in their route running than Travis Kelce. Hicks was also seen out there in coverage on this play against Worthy, who actually dove to make a tough play but was unable to haul it in. Another safety out there flying around is the second-year Chamari Connor, who was spotted knocking the ball out of Noah Gray's awaiting hands in a 1v1. And with Justin Reed still sidelined, Chamari Connor is out there getting plenty of work in, which will only help in his projected to be big year 2 leap. Kelce was back in action on this wildcat play in the red zone where he took the direct snap and faked the handoff to an in-motion Xavier Worthy to run it up the middle for the score, which was an interesting play to see. And speaking of running around, linebacker Drue Tranquill has had a fantastic training camp so far. Nate Taylor of The Athletic labeled him a maniac during the first hour of practicing, dominating both 1v1s as well as the 9-on-7 period. He made a bunch of plays out there and could be seen flying through the line to wrap up Deneric Prince for a loss on this play. And Drue spoke with the media today saying he feels way more comfortable now that he's in his second season with the same defense. That helps his ability to fly around, play faster, and think less. Next up, with Hollywood Brown out sick, wide receiver Justin Ross was the first to join the first-team offenses during 11-on-11 with Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy. I did find that interesting, Ross getting the initial nod over somebody like Nico Remigio in the pecking order, but Ross did make the 53-man roster last season after all. Meanwhile, Nico has been sprinkling in some with the ones, but is also working a lot with the second-team offense, catching this short pass from Wentz today, among others, I'm sure. One receiver making a strong case for himself so far at camp has been Montrell Washington. He reportedly was a dog, bark, bark, today at practice, making several impressive catches. He also made an incredible diving catch from Wentz yesterday, reportedly the play of the day. He had another big catch deep down the field from Wentz a few days ago, backflipping in celebration in the end zone. Washington is an intriguing guy to me because he signed with the Chiefs last year primarily as a backup returner, being called up from the practice squad eventually due to injuries, and had 8 punts as well as a kickoff last season. So KC does trust him in the return game back there, and he's had about 9-ish months to learn the system. The question is, can he make a strong enough case to crack the 53? I remember a similar situation last year. Ihmir Smith-Marsette, he had a strong case to maybe make the roster last year, being a guy who could also return for KC, but wasn't around come cutdown day after they traded him to the Panthers. Let's be honest, Ihmir Smith-Marsette was not going to clear waivers and end up on the practice squad, so the Chiefs tried to get a little bit of value out of him in a trade. And that's why it's going to be an uphill fight for Montreal Washington, especially when you have Mecole Hardman here. He caught a nice TD pass in the red zone today from Wentz, and he can return for the team plus knows the offense inside and out. Then Thuney has been having a decent camp so far, even catching a one-handed pass today from Mahomes. And if that wasn't enough competition, you also have Justin Ross and Nico Remigio fighting to make their own case. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you like Montreal Washington's odds to make the roster, or maybe Nico Remigio? Yeah, it's going to be a fight to the very end, so let me know your thoughts currently on the wide receiver room. Another guy with an uphill battle to make the roster, but doing all he can to improve quickly and make plays is the Welshman, the former rugby star Louis Rees-Zammit. LRZ had some 1v1 reps here in pass protection today, and got knocked on his behind a few times. Could be seen up against linebacker Curtis Jacobs on a couple of reps. He struggled on the first one, but the second was a bit better for sure. He then went up against linebacker Cole Christensen and did a decent job, all things considered. These growing pains are expected, in my opinion, from LRZ, though. He's never played football before, and this is only day 3 in pads. Here's a positive rep from LRZ, though, in the run game on a pitch from Wentz, where he went outside to the right, hit the correct hole, and was gone with the wind. Andy Reid said today that LRZ is learning all he can out there, going through growing pains, but you can see the athletic ability, and he's doing all that is asked of him with only 3 days of padded practices under his belt. He did work in as the first kick returner duo alongside Nico Remigio today, and also once again did some kicking as a kicker. He's been doing that off and on all camp. And I did want to circle back on something Dave Toub, special teams coordinator Dave Toub, said in his presser yesterday, because this is worth repeating. He basically confirmed that Harrison Butker is indeed going to be the primary kicker on kickoffs, where weeks back he made it seem like that may not be so, saying it could more likely be LRZ or Justin Reed so they can have another guy out there in coverage and not risk injury to Butker having to go out and make all those tackles. Well, with Butker for sure still remaining or appearing to remain the primary kicker, that means Justin Reed or LRZ would rarely be kicking and most likely makes LRZ's role as a kicker less impactful in the Chiefs' decision to keep him around come cutdown day. That means Louis has really got to show out on special teams purely as a kick returner and start to show quick improvements on the offensive side of things as well. We shall see how things progress for LRZ, and I'm definitely excited to see him out there in an actual game come preseason. From here, there were more exciting moments from practice to talk about, including this play where Mahomes launched a deep ball to Worthy with the blitz coming. Pacheco had some nice protection, but the throw was in a double coverage, and Bryan Cook once again made a play on the ball. It was a leaping attempt at an INT, though he couldn't reel it in. And while Worthy didn't haul that one in, boy oh boy did he make a splash play on this one here in 7-on-7. Not only did he win his route against Kelvin Joseph, being extremely quick off the line, look at this again, holy smokes, but Joseph even tugged Worthy's jersey to forcibly remove some of the separation there, and Worthy still made the leaping grab to haul it in for a touchdown. God bless America. I'd also like to point out how hilarious it was on that play to see Trent McDuffie literally leapfrog over the back of Travis Kelce as Kelce went to switch directions. Worthy caught another pass here, housing it, but I just want to note how fast this man looks when he turned on the jets down the field. It's like somebody hit the slow motion button on the rest of the people out there. I mean, I know he recorded the fastest combine 40 time in NFL history, but it's still one thing to know that and then see it in real time out there on the field. Tight end Jared Wiley was another guy with a strong practice, reportedly making a big grab over Joshua Williams from Mahomes for a touchdown. The KingdomsQueens said Wiley was out there having a great day, and it looks like Wiley and Justin Ross were in on most of the red zone snaps with the ones, from what I understand. Makes sense, bigger bodied guys out there that can go up and get it. However, Irv Smith Jr. was also out there being targeted by Mahomes, and for what it's worth, he's been quietly having a solid training camp of his own. PJ Green said he caught 2 touchdowns in red zone period yesterday and was used as a fullback throughout run periods. He made another leaping grab for a touchdown over the top of safety Deion Bush today, hauling in the pass from Wentz. So it seems Irv Smith Jr. is handling his own so far and is also being used in that H-back role similar to Noah Gray. Next up is some great news about the offensive line. Right before I was going to export this video, Field Yates tweeted out at about 4 p.m. Central, Chiefs Pro Bowl guard Joe Thuney has passed his physical and is now off the PUP list as he continues to recover from his pectoral injury. great news. So he passed his physical, and that means sooner rather than later, maybe even this week, we should see Joe Thuney back to practice. That will probably ramp him up. I doubt he's a full go, working in with the ones every single play or anything like that. But Joe Thuney is making his way back, and that means we should have him as the starting left guard to start out the regular season. We'll have to wait and see what Andy Reid gives us update-wise as far as Thuney's health and progression. But I wanted to let you guys know before exporting this is some great news. Joe Thuney is on his way back very, very soon. There's certainly lots of battles going on all over. Offense, defense, special teams. Got to keep eyes on it. Injuries to keep track of as these practices stack up. And be sure of this. I'll be here every step of the way to keep you in the know. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?